I started out, well, actually, I want to go back a little bit to 2015 is when I pretty much changed my life in a major way. I wrote my first book. It's called Uncrap Your Life, and
Right.
it's on Amazon. And the subtitle is Navigating Life's Crappiest Situation. So actually, after I finish the intro, or now, I'd like to read part of the chapter in the beginning, so to give people an idea of how I started out on this path of deciding that I don't want to work for other people. I'll read the chapter after I just do a brief intro.
Can I
So that was,
interject? Can I interject and just say that I did put a link up on
yeah,
Voxel
I made
Living?
a thread, and I took your,
Oh,
I
great. Okay, great,
yeah, I
great.
don't know if you saw that, but I did a whole thread of,
Oh, excellent. Yeah, because I have
yeah,
like a link
yeah.
cheat sheet for you. Okay, go
So
ahead. I just wanted to say that. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I did a thread with the links in there and stuff, because people may not know the history
Yeah.
of, like, what was I doing before crypto. And so this is a very important aspect of to understand the trajectory of how you get from point A to point B. Um, so 2015 was the year I literally changed everything and uncrap your life. I actually followed my own my own directives. Um, and it was in 2016 then after I wrote my book, I realized I wanted to not work for like any kind of 9 to 5 job ever
Right.
again. Yeah, that was my goal. So I became a writer through, I was networking through these entrepreneur groups. So I found a job writing for Interesting Engineering, which was online. And
Right.
then in addition to that, I became a ghostwriter for a software CEO. This was just me hustling on LinkedIn with cold calling and shit. I mean,
Wow.
I was so motivated to work for myself and to
Right.
do what I would call like intellectual pursuits. And so it was in 2016, while I was doing research for my writing jobs. And by the way, I was writing 10 hours per day, 7 days a week. I had no days off because
My
I could
dad was a
barely pay.
writer. My dad was a writer, so I totally understand. Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so it was during that time that I accidentally ran into Steemit, because I was doing a deep dive on researching this guy that had outsourced, no, had taught a robot to like do his job coding for him,
Right.
programming. And it was that at that point that I found Steemit, which was, at that time in 2016, this was one of the first decentralized social media that was run on a blockchain. It was called Steem. And so I went in when I saw the number below the article, like that showed how much money it earned. I was like, what is this? So I went into that vortex, and I was like, oh my God, this is the secret underground vortex I've always wanted to find. Because the quality of information at that time about crypto, this was the place to be, honestly, because of course there was Bitcoin talk forum, but at that time there was not a lot of places where you could actually socialize with other people that were miners, programmers. And I was literally among just a handful of creative people in that environment. Although I actually taught myself how to code when I was in my early 20s. So I was coding websites and stuff. And so I kind of can, if I need to like learn something, I can just pick it up. And so in a way it was that kind of experience helped me in the Steemit, because Steemit was very hard to navigate if you didn't know any kind of coding, because
Interesting.
everyone had to learn Markdown in order to post. You couldn't just like log in and post something.
Right.
You had to code it. It was crazy. Yeah. So anyway, and then it was through that experience in Steam that so I was earning more money in there than I was at my job. So I was like, this is not a hard decision what to do. And plus it was more exciting.
Right.
And then I launched Slothicorn, which is the Creative Commons crypto artist collective, in 2017, because I realized that artists artists are the ones that are going to bring everything to the mainstream, because when people learn out about crypto and they're normies, it's like it's too, it's too it's like, oh, that's so weird. But if you have a pretty picture, people will resonate with it. And that's actually, now I know that was true. So Slothicorn was run by a whole group of curators. Like, I didn't run the whole thing. I just founded it, and I wanted it Creative Commons because I felt that was more aligned philosophically with what I believe in. Open source technology, Creative Commons,
Right.
it has the ability to change the future in dramatic ways.
Right.
Yeah. And so, okay, so I did that, ran out of funding during the bear market, had to hustle. And I worked for lots of different crypto projects, was building communities, and I worked for the Dash DAO. So I'm used to working for DAOs in this decentralized way for what, 6 years now. So
Great.
it's almost like, it almost seems normal to me. So I love this, permissionless work. So in other words, you'd start doing work, and people, in the Dash community anyway, they started just paying me for my work that I was doing. And I was just like, I love this,
Yeah.
because I love to work. I am a workaholic,
Yeah.
and this is kind of a hard thing for people to relate to, because they're used to a job that pays them for their time.
Right.
And I prefer the meritocracy version of things. Do the work, and then if people appreciate it, they pay you for it. I mean,
Right.
it's brilliant. So
Yeah.
the DAO has been totally, like, the idea of the DAO has been corrupted by just greedy fucks, in my opinion, because it's now just like a group of rich people saying, "Oh, let's just form a DAO." No, that's not how it works. That's not it at all. It's to do with groups of people that vote on things and are actively creating value and creating things like articles. They're creating, you
Right.
know, uh, it can
Without the
be art.
bureaucracy. Like without the bureaucracy.
I mean, but with the voting mechanism, you have to. This is where things get tricky,
Hmm.
because in groups of people, if you have money in groups of people, then there's always going to be fights about who gets what,
Right.
why.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is the main problem of all DAOs. There's some solutions and stuff, but there has to be some way to vote that is not tied to how much you own. So that's what I see as the main problem in DAOs. Because you can't have, like, oh, stake weighted voting. It doesn't work. I've been in several of those and they all failed, basically.
So, for example, like in Decentraland, where the voting is based on the number of parcels owned, like, would you say that that's kind of ridiculous, right? Because you might have somebody with like 50 parcels, and then maybe I have two, and it's
No,
like,
it's not. That doesn't work. No, I'm telling you, I've been in lots of DAOs.
right,
That
right. I'm
doesn't
just
work.
asking your like
It
opinion.
doesn't work.
That's like a
It it
real
it
life
makes for an
case.
oligarchy. It's
Got
not
you,
a DAO. That
got
should
you.
be just called a monarchy or something. No,
uh,
honestly, yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't work. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh. And so, I mean, in my experience, you
yeah. I didn't
can't
mind the
have
idea.
your
I just was running
ownership
it by
tied to
you.
voting rights. That
Right,
doesn't work.
right. So what
So,
name are there any like name DAOs that you admire
well,
today?
okay, so my friend um Sparrow, her name is Sparrow. She's building a DAO. It's called the Platform, and so
Yeah,
I I'm looking into that because I I trust her, and that's it. So you really have to know who are these people that are creating it, because the people that creating it, that will tell you everything that you need to know.
right,
It's like, the who is it, why, and how is it being run.
right.
And so, a lot of things can go wrong because corruption is sort of, with a lot of money, it just goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah,
And so if you have the right people involved in the beginning and creating the structure, there's going to be more success in that type of thing. And so, just, it's like, Yeah, people that are coming in new to crypto, everything sounds so wonderful. I mean, I went through the whole thing too. It's like, oh, a DAO. Isn't that beautiful? Decentralized autonomous organization. It sounds so wonderful. Then you add money and people, and they somehow will manage to fuck it up 90% of the time. So I'm a little jaded. Like I just because I've been through a lot of stuff.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Well,
But
that's one of the reasons I was excited to have this interview with you, because that perspective is golden. You know, like in NFTs, 1 month is really like, I don't know, like half a year. I mean, so much stuff happens, and you
yeah.
have people that other people look up to who seem knowledgeable, and they might be for those people, but then you realize that those people who are being looked up to are like absolute rookies, and they're going on, you know, on trains of thought that are like faulty, or and it's just like a mess. You got like the blind following the blind. So that's one of the reasons I was so excited to do this interview, because any light beams that we have, any rays of light in the cryptoverse and the metaverse, are to be cherished and, you know, paid attention to. So
Well, I mean, the thing is that you have to just remember that so you have to design systems that understand and expect human corruption.
right.
So in other words, that was one of the major takeaways from Steam because I was so excited about Steam it, but then I realized like literally halfway through my time there that it is designed incorrectly and no one should ever have the power to take away someone else's earnings. And that was happening because the whales on the platform had that power. And I said, "Oh, this is a horrible design, Dan Larimer. Dan is the one who
Yeah.
created it." And the reason is because you should never design a system where it's possible for one person to take away the earnings of someone else through voting.
Mm.
And I just thought that was the most flawed, and it turned out to be that it was completely flawed and it did fail in my opinion. That
Yeah.
that thing um it didn't work in my opinion. It doesn't work like that. It should
Interesting.
never. Yeah, there's got to be a different way to create the voting. Although I do like that system of voting,
Right.
it should be but the thing is the main problem that never got solved is that the voting bots couldn't be equally weighted as opposed to like a real human being. So there has to be a system in which I would say that the voting itself needs to be done in a way that you have to prove that you're a human. And
Right.
that was never solved. And so that's my opinion about that. So,
Sure. There's
but
so many there's so many promising DAOs to look into. I think that DAOs, you know, alone are like a worthwhile study. I mean, there's, you know, the Juice Box, Seed Club. I mean, there's so many, and it's like, but it's like a separate job, right? It's
oh my
to
God,
like
it's
really,
so much work to figure out like which ones are. I think just just do one that is your friend. Um, do one
right,
with your friend that you trust, and that's you're gonna have a better time of it
right.
than
Well,
that.
so
So,
who was a pre? I'm just interested in this whole thing as an artist. I mean, I came, you know, through art from comic books and Marvel comics. I mean, when Marvel was good. So I'm looking at all this stuff, and I pretty much ignored digital art. I mean, you know, laugh everybody if you want. It's okay. I'll like laugh with you. I don't know. And, you know, I'm just like I became a dyed in the wool musician, and so now that I'm into art, I'm like back into art and music and all this stuff kind of all together. I'm like, wow, there's digital art, you know, pre-crypto, then there's crypto art, now there's NFT, and it's just like my mind is, it's just like,
mhm.
you know, it's just exploding. And I, you know, I wanted to ask you. I think one of the questions that I asked you personally was who, um, you know, what digital artists like pre-crypto digital art had an influence on you? Like who kind of caught your eye? Because I remember going to sites like Deviant Art that had nothing to do with NFTs, and I was blown away. I was just like, wow, this is, you know, this is a far cry from,
Yeah.
you know, Spider-Man, you know, Green Goblin and the stuff I used to check out when I was younger. You know.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was influenced a lot by Banksy. There's a also this photographer Diane Arbus.
Okay.
She was very influential on my aesthetics.
Right.
Also absurdist art. I'm and surreal art like Salvador Dali, of course,
Yeah.
but Frida Kahlo and the surrealists in general, because I mean, I relate to that a lot. Just it when I never forget, like, the first time I saw that, I was like, that's it. Like, it's
Right.
just that's the way I was drawing without influence. During college is when I learned that I could draw, and it was really a bizarre situation because I was in math class, and I was not in fine arts at the time, and I started drawing, and then it was like I discovered video feedback on my own, and I'd always been doing films and such like that with a good friend of mine. And so I've always been doing creative, like like I said, experimentation, and the drawing was just really weird. I thought, wow, I have this direct line into my subconscious. So the drawings that I did like that, it's called automatic drawing. It's
Okay.
it's like, yeah, I don't know what's gonna come out. It's automatic. And I still work that way. I've been, practicing that process for most of my adult life, to where I cannot relate to people that say like, "Oh, I'm having a blank," they're having like a blank time. I forgot what it's called. They blank
Block,
out.
like writer's
A
block,
block, yeah.
like
Like
artist block. Yeah, I know.
I don't relate to that, because honestly, I have been developing my creative mind for 30 years.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm in a different place. A lot of people that come in, they're experimenting because they're like young people and they're doing all this stuff. And it's like, if you could see all the shit I've done, I painted my car 5 times, for
Right.
example. I've designed shoes. I sold earrings on the street when I was 18. I lived out this whole fantasy life of being the patron saint of postcards when I was, what, 30, like in my late 30s in San Diego, California, which
Now
was
explain that a
completely
little bit.
nuts.
What is the patron? What is the
Saint of
patron
postcards.
saint of postcards? What's that? That sounds interesting. What is?
Okay. So I've always had like an obsession with postcards, and that came from um, the fact that I had a lot of pen pals. I had like over 20 pen pals when I was a kid. So literally almost every day I would get a handwritten letter in the mail. I sound really old, but whatever. Um, and this sort of thing, it evolved over time to where I came. Well, I was teaching English in Japan in my late 20s, and I got really sick from a nervous disease. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Like, I never figured out what exactly. I had paranoia and also hypersensitivity. So what happened was, like, I was a teacher there, but I felt like everyone was like, all my students and everyone was like, critical of me and stuff.
Uh huh.
It's
Gotcha.
because I'm introverted. And so what happened was I actually became deaf for a while. And that was because I was so nervous all the time that I stopped eating. And I've always had a lot of like these issues that happened to me. So I got so sick and I couldn't hear. I had to go home. So when I went home, I literally spent like months making postcards, and I would go out into the woods every day. It sounds completely insane, but that's how I healed myself, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, and so
Hey,
it was that's an int
that's an extreme ailment. So you know what they say, extremity requires
yeah,
extremity. So
and it was at that time, like, even before that, I always knew that my energy comes from within myself. It's not externally projected. And I don't get my energy from doing extroverted things. So that was the first time. I made like 300 of them, I think. And then that actually happened later on as well in San Diego. I've always been a person that sends people handmade postcards. So during the recession, when I was losing my job and everything, I literally had this vision of me like with a crown, with a postcard apron. No, people laugh at that when you
No,
say the
that's
word
great.
vision
I'm
because
laughing
it's
because like I
oh
know your artwork pretty well, and I'm just laughing because like I can see and like I would have had no clue that that's where that motif came from. So that's why I'm laughing. I'm just
yeah. And so
yeah.
I thought another like instead of trying to find a job that's non-existent because in California at that time during the housing collapse and
Yeah.
all that yeah, there was no money, there was no jobs or anything. And so at that time this vision came to me, and it said, you know, go out on the streets and share your art with the world. And that's what I did until I ran out of money. So that's a constant theme in my life that I'm constantly trying for years. If you could see all the struggle, which is
Sure.
being a creative person and wanting to be left alone, has been my ultimate goal ever since as long as I can remember. I need time to think and create and just and I don't need to be in an environment like a corporation because I go insane in that type of environment. And
Right.
and so that was a struggle my whole life. And now, it's like I am people are complaining about the bear market and stuff. Look, this is fucking nothing. Before crypto art existed, that's the bear market. It didn't exist, right?
Right.
None of these tools existed. None of this shit. There was no way for a digital artist to get paid.
Right.
This shit is revolutionary.
It is.
And the thing is that we have to always remember these fundamentals because it is easy to get trapped into comparing yourself with others. And that's what I want to lead into next.
Okay, great. Go
Because,
ahead.
okay, this is very important
Yeah.
information, by the way.
Sure.
In 2006, it was that I entered this contest through Taschen Publishing. Do you know what Taschen is?
I know the name. I don't know where I
Taschen
know
is
it
a
from, but I
very
know.
exclusive publishing company. They create art books. I mean, really, they have probably the best quality art books on the planet, and they're committed to art books. And I was actually I loved Taschen. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would get their newsletter and stuff. So in 2000, it was quite a while ago. It's like in 2006, I had this shitty job. I was broke as usual, and I got this newsletter all the time from Taschen because I subscribed to them. This is like pre-internet days, really. I mean, I was on the internet and stuff, but it wasn't, like it is now. So I got this thing, and it said that there was a contest, but I want to back up a little bit
Okay,
because
go
the
ahead.
story won't make sense unless I tell you
Sure,
what
go ahead,
happened
Stella.
before
Go ahead.
that.
That's why we're
Okay,
here.
yeah. So, okay, right before I got this Taschen contest thing in the mail, I had picked up this book randomly at an antique store, and it's called The Cabinet of Curiosities. And it was a book that I thought was fiction. I thought it was all made up. And halfway through the book, it's called Dr. Wilson's Cabinet of Curiosities.
Great.
That's what it was.
Okay.
And it was this fascinating book of this place that had all these curious things in it, which um, I thought was fiction. And it turns out it was real. And when I discovered that this place that I had been reading about, that I, found accidentally, it was like describing something that I would imagine to be real, but I couldn't ever believe that it was real.
Right.
When I discovered that it was a real place in California, and it's called the Museum of Jurassic Technology, and it's this place that's filled with curious things. I like literally lost my mind. I thought, I have to get there. I have to go and see this place. This place is made for me. I
Right.
swear to God, it was like
Right.
it was like this is my church, this is my thing, because curiosity is like my main thing. So anyway, like 2 weeks later, I get this contest in the mail by Taschen, and what the contest consisted of were tiny images, like literally, and it was printed too, so you couldn't zoom in or anything. It was really small images, 100 of them. And the contest was whoever identifies correctly the title and also the title and the author of the book from which those pictures, those tiny images came from, will win a full paid trip to Los Angeles for two and the hotel. And plus, you get to meet two authors of your choice.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. I
And
love
this is
stuff like
way
that.
back, this was, like I said, a long time ago. But here's the crux. Here's the important point that I want to make. I initially, when I looked at the images, I was like, I was able to identify like 20 or maybe 15 of them without trying.
Right.
And so because I had the, like I was obsessed with Tashin anyway, I thought, oh shit, maybe I can actually do this. Like I already have 15 of them. So what I did was that every day after work, that's all I would do for months. I'm not kidding you. And I would tell people like, hey, I'm in this contest with Tashin. It's international. Like anyone can win it. And every single person I talked to said, you'll never win that. Even my own brother at the time,
Wow.
I remember it very, very vividly, even though it was a long time ago. He said, you will never win that.
Hmm.
There's going to be some random person somewhere else that's going to win it. And I literally, at that point, I just started ignoring everyone. And I
Right.
shut myself in my apartment for 2 months or something. And I won it. So I won the trip. I
Wow.
won. So I got to fly out to California and I got to go to that museum that was the original reason that I wanted to go. But then, I met with the head editor of Tasha and they gave
Yeah.
me a tour of Los Angeles. I got to meet two writers of my choice, Diane Hansen and Sven Kirsten, who wrote the Book of Tiki. And anyway, at that time, from that point on, I had, it was one of those eureka moments where I thought, I will never fucking listen to anyone ever again. They
Right.
don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
It's
That's what
true.
the end result of that was. And that's basically, you have to revisit that whole thing that inside of you what you're capable of. Like everyone has this knowledge. Like
It's
I
true.
had this knowledge of what I was capable of doing, which is, if you kind of look at this situation, is persistence. And it was like, I'm determined, because after I exhausted the internet, I had to go to all these libraries. And after I exhausted all the libraries, then I started contacting individual people who had Taschen books in their home. So
Wow.
I was just persistent. I persisted more than anyone else, consistently.
Right.
That's the only reason that I won. It
Yeah.
wasn't because all of these things people like to give you, fake attributes. It's honestly just persisting when everyone else has given up. And that's basically the main lesson in life. Like this can carry you. That lesson has carried me to where I am right now, because like no one was really paying attention to my crypto sellers project. I
Right.
mean, no journalist has ever really written about it. I haven't gotten mainstream coverage of it. Like, and people don't go on these major gigantic threads on Twitter about how blah blah blah. It hasn't gotten exposure. Like it did get, I was on Nifty Gateway and stuff.
Sure.
But that was all just me persisting. That was not to do with other people. So I know deep down that I will persist way longer than anyone else around me. I mean, they may just come into fame because they were already famous,
Got
but
you.
I came from zero. I came from
Wow.
zero and I was broke.
Right.
When I came into crypto, I literally had like $100 in my bank account.
Right.
And it may happen again, but I'm not as afraid of that anymore. Like I already fucking went broke, and I came from a decent, you know I had money growing up, and so for me to go broke was like the worst thing ever, but it's already happened, so I'm not
Right.
afraid of it any
Right.
like I was. But
Well, that the whole fear thing, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. I was thinking about how much success relates to the you could, I don't know what the right word, basically the conquering. I mean, the fear is always there, but the conquering of fear. It's just like you're thinking about aptitude, right? So there's obvious aptitude. Like I have my youngest daughter, for example. I'm going to give the mic back to you. I just wanted to interject because you made such an important point about persevering. And I think fear ties in with this. Like, I definitely see you as a fearless person, and I'm sure you have your fears and your things, but like you kind, you have those muscles that were developed from experiences like these. And when we look at these,
It's
at
coming from losing everything,
right.
and also self-examination. My book has the 15 worst situations in my whole life.
Oh, let's get
No, I'm
into
not
that.
joking.
I just wanted to finish this
Yeah,
thought.
go ahead.
Fear, it's such a, and it's this thing that it's almost like we all know about it, but it's just, and we really, all of us, I think, should be like, studying this thing. But it's like you look at people with aptitudes and okay, yeah, everybody has an aptitude for at least one thing, I think. And so you look at, and it's not, but that's not what got them the success. It's a fearlessness. Like I have a few kids, and I see it in my youngest son. Now, this guy beats me at Scrabble all the time. I'm not a stupid guy. I'm not like a linguist, but I have a pretty decent vocabulary. But the difference between me and him, I'm driven to play the game well. He's driven to win. And I love it because I'm learning from my own son, like certain things that I need in my life to to like move to the next levels. Like he already has it. He like beats everybody hands down, and his vocabulary is not the best. It's just that he knows how to maximize the to monetize that board. He'll get the triple word score combined with the double word score. It's like I'm watching this kid jump around the board. But my whole point is like he's fearless, whereas I'm more of like a thoughtful person. I'm more methodical, and that pays off with certain things. But sometimes you just have to, like you said, just grab, um, be. I mean, you
Well, I
you
mean,
you have to face your fears, and
but the
like
thing
you
is,
said,
though, that like I've if you could see literally all the time that I spent cultivating myself alone, like with nothing,
yeah,
it's it's that that kind of development is part of why I know who I am, and that's the most important thing you can do in life, because once you take the time to understand your own motivations, your own fears, your own weaknesses, your strengths and all that stuff, it's easier to relate to people, because then you can see the mirror, you can mirror them, the other person, for them. You can understand the other person. But if you never take the time through all these distractions and all this stuff, if you never take the time to figure out who you are and why you are, you
yes,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Then you're at a disadvantage
oh yeah,
in life. You're at a
oh yeah,
complete disadvantage. Like, I mean, it takes it almost takes like a tragedy, in my opinion, to create some kind of character that's a strong personality.
mm,
Because if you've literally, like, my childhood though was easy, I had a kind of, spoiled childhood or whatever. And so it really wasn't until later I went through a lot of these, I mean, not a lot, but for me it was
yeah,
traumatic experience, right? So
right,
in those, going broke was potentially the best thing that could happen to me, because now I can relate to 99% of the human race. I mean,
right,
most people don't have enough, or they're not given the everything they need to live out their dreams, right?
yeah,
Right. And so it's like having to piece everything together in the way that, that I've done. It's like it allows me to relate to people at the different areas,
yeah,
being broke. What do you do? And it's like, if you're broke, you have to have a job, but you're going to have to work twice as hard, essentially, because you're going to have to cultivate the other thing that is your passion. You're going to
right,
have to get really good at that before you toss in the towel, because it's very scary. I mean, I wouldn't recommend what I did, because my parents were the ones that bailed me out at the end of the patron saint of postcard era. I mean, it's true. I literally just
I'm
did
just
not have a
laughing at that
plan.
title. The patron saint got bailed out. I'm just thinking about like the big companies that got bailed out, and like you're like along with them. Like, hey, they'll be out too.
Like,
No,
I
I'm
don't
just
know
kidding.
how I'm so stupid. Like, why didn't I think of, wait, I have to make money to live. It was more of the case of I have $8,000 for my 401k, which I was living on. And then I was like, I can do anything I want. I can live out my dreams for 8 months. So I did that.
Hey, we all have to learn. Hey, I want
Yeah.
you mentioned the 15. I believe you said the 15 steps or something from your book. Would you like to go into that?
Well, the thing I wanted to go into that I think is probably the most valuable
Sure.
for anyone to kind of learn, this is sort of a pep talk.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's kind of like a pep talk, AMA spaces. But yeah, I want to read initial, the first chapter of it, because this gives an idea of the whole thing of why I started doing that. So here it is. It's the introduction.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I started writing this book in earnest 6 months ago when I received the news from an HR manager at a really good company. We're sorry, but you're not the right fit for us. I asked the HR manager why I wasn't chosen. I explained I had been interviewed 5 different times and reminded her that one of her employees had referred me to her company. All I wanted to know was what characteristic prevented me from getting hired. So in the future I could correct this defect. I begged I begged her to tell me why. And she she did not know. She had no idea why I wasn't chosen. And then after I got off the after I got off the phone with this HR manager, I felt failure and shame taking turns ransacking my internal organs.
Mm.
My head filled with heat and my heart pumped uncontrollably. Then the nasty thoughts crept into my brain. I was rejected for being me. That hiring manager didn't like something about me, and now I'm being punished for it. What the hell is wrong with me? Am I really a loser? Am I destined to have all the crappy jobs? Do I have a big letter L for loser imprinted on my forehead that everyone else can see? That's what I felt like, honestly. It was just like, are people seeing that? What is going on? And then okay, so at that point, so this was sort of like a big point in my life. I said, I decided I would never again let another random person define my self worth. From
Yeah.
that day on, I decided to uncrap one thing about my life at a time. I decided to go all in. The very first thing I decided to uncrap was my inability to finish personal projects, which is actually true. I decided not to let my perfectionism, inability to focus, lack of money, low self esteem, or my bad writing get in the way of this commitment. I pushed through every negative thought I had about myself in order to keep my commitment. My message to you is to make one commitment to yourself, just one. And like I said at that time, all the one commitment was I'm going to finish this fucking book.
Right.
So once I made up my mind to self-publish a book, the next step was to decide on a topic. Many experts advise authors to write about topics they know really well. So I asked myself, what topic am I an expert on? I thought about this for a long time. I scanned my life experiences and determined that above all, I'm a master at escaping from crappy situations. I'm good at recognizing bad situations and equally skilled when it comes to devising escape plans. My hope in writing this book is to help you escape from your own miserable situations too. So at the end of each chapter, there's a list of exercises which are designed to get you thinking about possible solutions for your crappy life. that's that's what I wanted to read.
Oh
This
wow.
intro, because that is it's so strange that this happened right before I found crypto. I think
Yeah.
this is significant, right? And it was like this is preparation, right? A mental preparation for finding crypto the next year.
Right.
And then I saw all everything I could see with, you know, with clarity about what my future was going to be. Like but it was started at that time. It started in 2015.
Great. And then you
But
could say that that was preparation in a way for the pandemic.
yes, okay, yes. And I want to, yes, and I want to mention one thing, that during the recession, when I saw my 401k, which I always thought was my money, I thought it was my money, you know, it's, hey, that's my 401k. I saw it just disappear before my eyes. $10,000 turned into 8,000. I was like, oh my fucking God, like there's something going on. And at that point, I realized at that point, I said, in the future, this was my like visionary moment. I said, in the future, we're not going to work for corporations anymore. We're going to be creators, and our energy will come from within us. And that was the initial spark. I mean, that's why I started on the path of becoming the patron saint of postcards, just because I knew that this would happen again, because the recession was caused by these fucks and, you know, in
Yes.
JP Morgan, you know, with the
Yeah.
housing collapse. But it was essentially because they're gambling on with toxic loans, and the whole system is corrupt, right?
Right.
And I
Right.
thought this will just endlessly repeat. So I said the future will be something that we're self-reliant, that it comes from within us. And that's when I started really focusing on creating. I was on YouTube at that time. Like YouTube had launched a few years before. And so yeah, I'm like, I'm a creator, like I'm going to be self-reliant. I didn't have all the things figured out though. I went through a lot of hell to try to figure this out. So the thing is though, people, you know, I've been clawing my way out of that system that I hated, which was
Gotcha.
the system of which the CEOs at the top, you have the middle managers, and then you have the worker slaves at the bottom.
Sure.
So
Sure.
most people, but some people can be managers and tell others what to do. I was not one of those people, and I certainly didn't like being a worker slave, because the managers were generally less intelligent than me. So I was like, I don't have respect for them.
I think
So
I remember seeing a tweet of yours where you said, "I'm not going to take orders from anyone, and I don't want to give orders." And I thought that that was very profound.
and that's exactly it. That is exactly it. I That's not freedom when you're giving people orders, right?
Right, because
That's
you're
not.
giving them someone else's orders.
Yeah, they're not even your orders,
Right.
right? And I guess I guess you could hire someone and give them orders, but even with that, I'm kind of not very comfortable with that for some reason, and it's because of this. I think, to me, like, pure freedom means that I can, and it's very idealistic. Like, you know, it's 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 not something that I think people think is possible, which is what I do now. I literally can spend most of my time in a sort of dream state, in a way that's,
Yes.
yeah, and that's kind of how I live now, and I'm able to do that. So that's, you know, that's no small feat from
That's
all the
wonderful.
stuff.
That's like
Yeah,
miraculous, basically,
I
because
know.
you could. Well,
But
you
I
could
mean,
kind of
it's,
look at this, and I think you're one of the people that when I hear you speak, you kind of outline this struggle that artists have been living
yes,
for centuries, and I just hear it, and it just outlines this thing. I get like a clear outline of basically, selling your trading your
time.
hours, or as you would say, the wage slave, uh
Yeah,
for someone, not only someone else's ideals, but it's like it's not even your ideas, and it's like the work, you might
yes,
not even like it, and then so
exactly.
you're
Like,
getting judged
it's
on this stuff that like you don't have any internal investment in.
exact. It's not your
How
vision,
long can you
because
expect yourself
if,
to thrive? And you're going to just
yeah,
develop shit like cancer. Your relationships are not going to work out. Your kids are going to know you're miserable. And it's like, at what price?
yes,
And then watch this. The company that you are working for might not even be legit. They might not even be, they might be selling you a dream while they're or up to
Doing some
some
shady shit in the
they're up to
background.
some other shit. Yeah, because I worked at a
Yeah.
couple of jobs where me and the guys kind of figured out, hey man, there's contracts being fulfilled here that have us doing all type of work that really have nothing to do with the customers. Like there's like shit going on here that our bosses are busting our asses to do this and that, and it doesn't make any sense because we have a firsthand knowledge of what the demand is, and this is way above it. So I'm like, okay, whose family member is this contract belonging to? And it's like, I don't want any part of this. It's like it's wasting my time, and that's when I started to, become a street musician. So I basically went through a little bit of the
Mm.
process that you did,
Are
just
you playing
like
on the
much,
street? Is that what you
much.
mean by street musician?
Yeah. I got my guitar, I got my amp, and I hit the subways, and it was a very
Yeah. I
interesting.
mean, street, like the 8 months I was on the street. I had an apartment and everything, but I
Right,
spent all of my days on the street wandering around. I was just like the happiest that I've ever been in my whole life.
right,
It's hard to even understand. It had nothing to do with money. I hardly made any money. I would give most of my postcards away to people who were interested in them. All I cared about was that I was creating something that was pure, like from my heart, that was
right,
untainted by a boss, but untainted by a system,
right.
right? And that people could resonate with that. It was the most magical thing
No,
ever.
yeah, oh yeah, it is.
And
It is.
you have the same thing with music. It's like
Well,
that's coming from yourself, and that's your higher, that's like accessing a higher self that is
yeah, it
within
is.
you, that's good. It's like it's a good part of you that's whole. And then for people to respond to that was like, you cannot, that experience is just, you can't even almost describe it, for
Well, you
me
start
anyway.
to live life in a real way. Like things start to happen that would never happen,
Yeah.
and good and bad. For me, thankfully, mostly good, because I've known street musicians, like successful ones, all my life, and so I'm the one that like took the plunge late, and basically it was
Yeah.
because my company had a nasty habit of not paying me, and I said, okay, after the fourth time, like f you. So then I just took the earnings, and I'd already gotten the equipment, and I kind of already knew, but like hitting that subway for the first time, and literally making $5, and then being like, okay, but like growing in it, and then to the confidence where I am now. Basically, I stopped because of the pandemic, and they just ordered. You couldn't play in the subway anymore, but I can set up at any train station, and like I'm confident, like I'm gonna, it's gonna be three figures, and that's not because I'm an arrogant bastard. That's because I earned it. I worked my way up from $25 to 50 to getting sometimes $100 tips, to like actually playing where I'm like not even aware of it. I'm just like playing, and everyone's happy and I'm happy, and it's like, yeah, you're like living that real life. So I
So you make
totally.
your whole living from that now?
No. So with the pandemic, basically,
Mm.
playing in the train was stopped, and I also had like family responsibilities where I basically had to help a relative who was had to work from home and didn't know anything about computers. So I know a little bit, and I basically did their job for them. And then we got in
Mm.
trouble for that like later, which is so ironic. It's like, okay, so you take our jobs from us, and then those of us who actually hang on by a thread, then you're going to punish us because it's not by the book. Like I'm doing work for someone, it's like it's their work, but it's like, yeah, but it's just an evil system. It's just basically meant to step on you and squash you, kill your spirit,
Well, we
extract
didn't
all.
have a good mechanism before the crypto world descended upon us. We didn't have a good
No, we
mechanism
didn't.
to connect, okay, to connect with other people who can appreciate and we appreciate, because the giant tech companies were created the high super highways,
Yeah,
which, as you know, are just selling our information data.
right.
So if you really think about it, we're restructuring the social network highways between us in a way that is, we can sustain ourselves, and that's what we're doing. People, I think, don't realize it on that level. Even though we are going through Twitter has been, um it's been good for Bitcoin and for crypto adoption. That's
Yes.
the thing that people don't realize. They're always like, but we need a decentralized social media. I've worked for them. I've tried over like 20 different decentralized social media, and guess
Right.
what? They all sort of fizzled out.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's still needed, of course, in a perfect world, but um the fact that crypto, I mean, that Twitter provided a home for the crypto people who were just spread out everywhere is significant. It's a significant thing. They never banned us. They never, Jack is pro Bitcoin, and
Yeah.
it came under his direction, even though he's not in Twitter now. The whole birth of the crypto Twitter happened here. And so we
Yeah.
have to like embrace that at a certain
Yeah.
point.
Well, I want to launch into something just briefly. I
Oh,
read a disturbing headline talking about Bitcoin, that the
yeah.
U.S. government is like declaring this thing to be harmful, Bitcoin mining harmful to the environment. I mean, do you want to? That doesn't look
It's
too good.
basically it's BS as far as it uses as much as YouTube, and no one's complaining about YouTube. They're not
Right.
going on a crusade
Right.
against YouTube. They're going a crusade against Bitcoin for obvious reasons. It's control.
Right.
It's control.
They
And
want the central bank digital currency just like China wants it.
exactly, China went after the miners too.
Right.
They want
So,
total control of
yeah,
us,
these
because
bastards.
then they have all the data. It's all going to be on their the the decentralized ledger that anyone can look at. So the financial information, and also it's very significant that they arrested, I mean, it wasn't the US, it was in the Netherlands, I believe.
Yeah.
They arrested the software developer who created Tornado Cash. And
Yes.
this is problematic because that is code, and like in the US, for example, free speech is covered, and code is is speech. People don't realize that this battle has been going on since. That's why Bitcoin was born.
Right.
That's the
Right.
whole reason, is because code is speech, and free speech is, it can't be snuffed out. And then we're really coming into an area that is very, it's like it
Very dark.
it's like 1980. It's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark.
Well, like a friend of
Exactly.
mine says, when it behooves them, they will go against their own rules.
Well, I mean,
You know what I mean?
self-interest
So
and
they'll say
greed.
something is untouchable, and then it's like eminent, it's like eminent domain. It's like, oh yeah, like, wait a second, you're not supposed to be able to remove my house. Oh well, due to this clause. Oh well, this clause was revoked. It's like when you're dealing with the lawmakers, it's like anything goes basically.
Well, I mean, self-interest trumps everything else. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's just look at a Dow and you'll see that that's the same thing.
It all boils
It's
down
it's
to the
it's
Dow.
it's
That's funny.
basically it's this. This
Yeah,
is the simple reason for a lot of stuff, is that the technology is sufficiently advanced and humans have not sufficiently advanced. Like think of, just in every situation, humans are not sufficiently advanced to think of how their actions and everything they're doing affects everything else, right, in the world. And it people don't think of this. They also don't think of how, good or bad, right? We're not thinking in that way. It's People are thinking in terms of, will this 10x me? So we're in different lanes at a certain point,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And the part of the problem, in my opinion, is that I look at my 9 to 5 job self, and then I look at myself now. Well, the main reason that I look at things differently is because I don't have a boss hanging over my head for whatever, I'm not in jail, essentially, right?
right, right.
I was in a mental jail at different jobs I've had, except for the one job as a production artist. And I was just left alone to do this kind of, technical art stuff. And that's the only job that I could really function at.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then the rest of them were sort of sketchy. And but the thing is that most people are still stuck in that mental, that mental slavery is a setup basically for how then they perceive they don't have enough time. Number one,
Sure.
see, all of these things, it took me an enormous amount of time to come to the conclusion that I wanted to start a crypto artist collective that was Creative Commons in 2017.
Right.
This took, a year of thinking,
Right.
really, and
Right.
like learning about these new systems and how things could work, and then actually doing it. And the reason was, it wasn't to enrich myself, it was to help educate artists coming into this new crypto economy, right?
Is there a future for Slothicorn? Is there a
No, I mean,
Slothicorn 2.0?
no, because, well, the
I
thing
mean, not on
is,
Steam it, but
oh yeah, yeah, I'm in the beginning phases of, first I want to track down everyone that was involved with it. I've actually started that process.
yeah,
And then, because the main thing is that the people that were involved and that gave the energy to it, they need to somehow, um benefit. That's how I see it.
sure,
Because that's past energy that was already done. Like, they helped run it, and they helped the artists. But that work will never be something that people can evaluate and
right,
speculate on. Like, our group helped artists. We helped pay artists
yeah,
for creating, and that was part of it. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was probably, for some people, it was a lot of money. There was a lot of people that lived in different countries that don't have the same, income levels as here.
sure,
So there was probably some people that did benefit in a way that I can never quite, understand
sure,
exactly.
sure,
But yeah, I want to first I have to collect everything. I have all of it. It's all in the blockchain, actually, on Steam. So the first thing would have to do is, like, I want to have an exhibition, and that talks about it, that educates, and also that shows all the stuff. And then there's many different possibilities for how that could go.
right,
It's going to take a lot of time and energy to track everyone down, discuss it, find everything, and then figure out a way that could be, like, I'd have to talk to people that don't know anything about it and ask them, hey, what would be interesting to you?
right.
Because that's, like, it's hard to know from the outside, you know. Do you know what I'm saying?
I
So I would
do,
have to
I do.
do it, yeah, in a way that has, like, a focus group, and I would like to ask people questions and stuff.
Great,
Yeah.
Stella. Would you like
So
to open it up for some comments now?
sure, why not? Let's
Okay,
Yeah, sure.
all right.
Like, we never even talked about, like, the crypto art stuff
Oh no,
later.
we could talk some more. I just figured
Yeah, let's open it up to anyone that
yeah,
has
kind of
questions.
ventilate a little bit, and then we could talk about some other stuff.
Sure.
I got some other questions for you. Hey, does
Oh,
anybody?
we got a question right here.
Oh, great.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, if anyone has questions, comments, let's let's discuss. Let's discuss.
Right.
Okay, so Fivable.
We're opening
Wait.
up the
Yeah.
allow list.
What's up? Hi, Stella.
How's it going?
Good. How are y'all doing? This has been fun to listen to. I got a couple little comments. I love your, what's your corn? What's Slothicorn? Um, I used
Yeah.
to do a lot of stickers for like street artists and stuff. And so I tried to get my daughters to do slaps. So we would stick them up around Atlanta. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and my younger one of them was doing like Mermicorn. And my
Oh,
other one, and I'm looking it up right now. She did Cloudicorn, so she didn't do very many,
yeah.
but she would draw cloud. I would give them some like vinyl sticker paper, and they would just like Sharpie it, and then cut a hand
Yeah.
cut. And
Yes, I love
so
it.
yeah, I'm like, you can make any kind of cloud and put a unicorn horn on it, and boom, you know. So when you said
Awesome.
Slothicorn, I'm like, I'm with the right people, you know.
Yeah. I just like I was trying to think of at the time something where we could have the idea of crypto, which would be the unicorn part of it. That's always like associated with crypto in my mind. And then something that's like slow and that's that is like of the old world.
Yeah.
So people coming into it could be like,
No,
we're just, what's crypto? What? Because in 2017, like not that many people knew about it. It was still so. I mean, there was a bull run and everything, the ICO craze, but really, it was still so far on the outside
oh, that's
at that
funny. So
time.
are you you're
So
using the ICO and iCorn?
no,
Okay.
I'm not. I'm using the sloth and then the unicorn.
Okay.
It's a
But it does
combination.
have the ICO built in there, which is kind
That's
of cool.
interesting.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
I should have an ICO.
Yeah.
It would be so weird.
Well,
Yeah, make the IC and the O capital.
yeah. And actually, it's funny
Sloth.
because I
Wait a minute.
reserved a name
I
years ago. I use one called Iconic, meaning because it's iconic, the
I
unicorn
know.
horn, and
Yeah.
Gotcha.
so I'm like, why not just use Iconic? And it sounds like I've got a speech problem, Oh yeah, man, it's Iconic, So anyway,
Yeah.
so
Hey, thanks for chiming in.
yeah.
Thank you.
And also, I like the postcard bit that you were talking about. That was really cool.
The patron saint of postcards.
Well,
I
just
love
in general that you loved getting them or had a thing about them.
Yeah, and I would on trips, the main thing I would do is bring all these weird clippings with me. So I would buy the standard postcards from a city, but I was always adding weird shit to it, like some gigantic, hand coming up. It was just, it's like, it's just something I always did.
That's cool.
Right.
I mean,
it's like an artistic thing that I've always had,
I years ago scratched I would send mail in weird things too. Just like make
Yeah.
a envelope out of the apple pie box from McDonald's, or one time
Oh,
I sent a letter to my friend, and I worked for a place that had a record label and a bunch of extra vinyl that was never going to be moved or sold. And so I pulled a desk out and took a scribe, and I scratched a whole letter in it, and then put stamps just all over the one side, because at the post office they're like, oh, you can't mail that, that's hazardous. And I'm like, well, if I put a bunch of stamps on it and throw it in the thing and run.
back then I think we could mail all kinds of shit, but they don't allow a lot of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I mailed like a palm tree, a coconut, the bottom of a shoe.
Yeah, I mailed a
Like
beer
I
can.
cut out the bottom of a shoe and like made a postcard out of that shoe sole.
Yeah.
And shit like that.
So, anyway, well, thanks for having me up.
That's cool.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks for any other questions or comments, or anyone want to share something?
Yeah, and your sticker machine was great. I got my stickers, by the way, and I love them. So
you did?
Yeah, I did.
Good. Was that like you almost didn't think it would happen kind of thing? I guess
I knew it would. Yeah, I figured it would happen. Because
you did.
Yeah, you know what I did with my stickers, because stickers are fun to. People like stickers. I think it goes back to childhood, and that's why I started printing them. I had a thing called slap packs, and what I would do was, whenever an artist would send me some art that they wanted made into a sticker, I'd ask them, do you mind if I print extras and throw them in other people's, kind of like the prize in a cereal box. So every order I had, I would throw in a random sampling from different artists, so they would have them and slap them up in different cities.
I thought about doing that too, like in the voxels gallery. I was thinking about other artists we could have a whole line of them or something.
Yeah, in your thing, like where they could, like, you could spotlight certain artists for your sticker machine or something,
or random, like I can incorporate other artists into this thing.
Yeah.
And you can get like you can go and get the random one, or I don't know. I have too many fucking
Because
ideas.
they're
I
like
can't.
they're like trading cards at that point, you know. So
Actually, that's the thing. Someone told me that people have already started trading because one person gets one that they want to trade for the other. Like there's been trading going on that I didn't know about. I found out about it
that's awesome.
because it's free. Because people don't realize that I'm doing this free. Like that's crazy, right?
Yeah,
But to
yeah.
me, it's like I'm not going to charge people money when someone already bought the NFT. So this enables, like, crypto art enables us to do these other things for free, and it's more fun to get something for free in the mail. Like, do you remember there was a time where you could send off for samples, or you know what I mean? Like you could get free things in the mail, and that was so fun. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I can remember getting an address when I was a kid, and they would send you a random assortment of, again, it was stickers, but it'd be something like STP or
Yeah.
weird little products, you know. But yeah, I mean, it was always fun, and I mean, as an adult, I thought this was amazing. Kudos to Captain Crunch, because they offered a T-shirt at one point in adult sizes only, and you had to save Captain Crunch box tops and send them like $3.95, and they would ship it to you. And I did it thinking, oh yeah, I'll never see this shirt, and I got it. And I actually ran
Oh.
into like another person like at Disney that had it. And he's like, dude, adult sizes only. I'm like, yeah, you know.
There it is. That's a rare one of one. Well, not one of one, but
Yeah, but there's just not that many out there, you know. So it was cool.
Well,
So,
just
huh.
but
don't let Sotheby's get a hold of it.
that's right. That's right. But that's what I like about voxels. I mean, the other metaverses are cool. I'm involved with Man Who Sold the World. I've got a lot of plots there. And it's more of a build and conquer kind of thing. And I don't really like that as much. I mean, I love the project, but Crypto Voxels to me is all about the community, getting to meet
Creativity.
some fellow weirdos, you know, that like to just
Yeah.
think outside the box and
There's a
just
lot of those there. I mean, it's really
yeah.
something
Yeah,
else.
because it's not a game. It's like I'm just creating weird ideas. Like it doesn't have to be a game that people play because I don't really like that kind of dumbed down stuff. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we got to play a game in here
That's
or
right.
whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
so I like the weird games that people make because they're making it all up. It's not a pre-designed package. Like it's all custom. I think that's
oh
why
yeah.
create voxels is so fun.
Well, the library thing with Near is so cool because you go click the book, it pulls up the wearable, but then if you look in the description, there's a link so you can download the open source or public domain version of that book. I'm like, how cool is that?
It is very cool.
You know?
Man, there's so much stuff that has yet to be done. Like that's the thing I keep thinking about. Like we're just probably on the cusp of something. Like there's so many ideas that could be done that are maybe never been done before.
Right. And I think Voxel Living was talking about it too. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's not like, you know, at least currently, there's no property taxes and stuff like that.
It's true. It sounds
You
funny,
know,
but it's like really, it's true, man.
it's kind of freeing in a way, and
Yeah, and
you know,
I worry about like someone breaking in and all that shit. But then it's your virtual. That's the best thing. Like my art is sitting there in my museum, but I don't have to worry about it.
No,
yeah,
no one's gonna.
yeah,
I mean, the
It's
worst
all
thing that can
virtual.
happen is a
No, that's what
squatter.
I'm saying. It's all virtual.
I mean, I
yeah,
had a squat like people squat, like, but then even now you have the ability to actually boot somebody off of your property in a very kind of. I mean, they don't get arrested and get a ticket or, but like you can in voxels, there's a way to
Yeah.
restrict access if you're,
I,
but like most people in voxels build houses for other people to check out. Like honestly, like like I'm thrilled when somebody stops by. I'm not going to be like I'm busy. Like that's
yeah. I
why
mean,
I'm there.
you can token gate people. I mean,
You can, yeah, when
I
you
don't
need
know
to.
if you can. You can't really block wallets from coming in yet, but you know, another thing that they haven't, and BitPixie's talked maybe a little bit about some ideas kind of like this, but I really think we should be able to designate walls or the outside walls or certain areas as not where we don't give the entire parcel as a playground, but the outer walls. I would love to be able to have some blank walls for some people to come, put some graffiti up or a picture or whatever.
We need graffiti. We need something called like graffiti parks, because
Yeah.
you can't
Yes.
have a full world where it's everyone owns every fucking square inch. Like, you need public areas.
Yeah,
There
they
was
call
one,
them, like in real life, you call them spray grounds sometimes.
right.
Yeah, and those are
Yeah.
the best art is found in places like that, honestly.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the guys
Honestly.
recently, one of the guys asked, I know it's kind of synthetic, but like they asked for people to come and like give graffiti for him to put on his own wall.
I remember that. Oh,
And
I
that's
think
cool.
my next show that I'm gonna have is gonna be trash. Like, it's just gonna be called Trash.
Awesome.
And I'm gonna open it up to everyone. I'm gonna have a gigantic toilet bowl in the middle, and then graffiti just put up the trash. I mean,
Yeah.
just fill it with trash. I
Make
think
it look like
it's
CBGBs.
Yeah.
trash art. Like, all the
But
trash artists can just come descend, and we can just, like, everyone can, like, literally, I don't know. I love that kind of energy where it's all just like a free for all. I don't know. I think I'm a hippie or something, because I don't like rules. Like, I don't like a lot of rules at all.
the
It
best
just
parties were
ruins
always the
shit.
ones that were unplanned. They just kind of happened.
Parties that are unplanned.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some weird vortex you find. Just, I mean,
Well,
just
there's a great museum in Vauxhall called so I believe it's Seoul Art Museum AMB. And
hmm.
if you haven't visited, please do. I mean, the builds are great and the light baking is awesome. But one of the things the guy did, I forget the artist's name, but one of the things that he did is he made it a bit like you could just post your NFTs. So he was like, yeah, come and add art to the museum. So like, I was over there like, putting up
Mm.
yeah, like putting up some of my favorite NFTs, and I think I actually like added some floorboards. It was really cool, but it was like this open thing where he just let you, and he kind of trusted you not to abuse the thing. And I think that it's a great exercise in like human civility, right? Because you're opening it up
Yeah.
and you're like,
Yeah,
hey,
because
I'm
I did
opening
it
it up to
once
you,
too.
and like with the trust that you're not gonna, like, I mean, you can't kill anybody in the metaverse, but like you're not going to come by and like dose us with like, toxic gas. Like, like you're going
Well,
to add your NFT, or you're just going to hang out and watch, or, and I love that energy. Like anytime we get to exercise, civility, I think it's great.
yeah.
Yeah, there
And
was
that's,
one. I opened mine up for a sandbox once, and what happened at the end of it was, like, one person, they kept deleting my painting over and over again. Like, I would just keep putting it up, and at the end of it I was like, okay, maybe the sandbox thing isn't for me, because it was starting to piss me off. Actually, there was
Sure.
tons of places to put your stuff. Like, I don't care if someone overlaps mine. I don't care about that, but this intentional deleting of the thing I kept putting up, I thought, I'm done with this game. Go fuck yourself,
yeah, yeah.
Right.
because
That's,
I thought they're trying to get at me, or they're trying to do something,
well,
and
that's like
I
when you're
just thought,
blacklisted, and
no,
they
I'm
spray
not
paint
gonna
the eyes
sandbox it
until they
again.
drip, and
What? I'm
it's
sorry.
like when they spray paint, if you get in the on the outs with the crews and stuff, they'll come by and they'll spray paint like over the eyes until they drip way down and X you out and stuff in
I
public. And
forget what they used to call that, man. That's like from the classic,
that's blacklist stuff.
oh, okay,
So
okay. Like that was
yeah,
that classic beef in one of the old school graffiti movies where this dude made a name by going over all these brilliant artists' work with his like BS two-letter garbage. And
yeah,
everybody hated him. Everybody hated him, and the whole point was for him to get fame. It's such a sociological. It's just so
Yeah.
interesting. He's like a shit poster, basically. He's
yeah.
like a visual shit poster, you know.
So,
Right.
so part of that is why I was saying I would like for my parcels, like if I define, okay, the outer walls are fair game, but inside is not.
Yeah,
Instead of
I see
having to
what
make
you mean.
instead
I
of
see
make the
what you
whole
mean.
thing a playground, because then you no telling what you come back to, right? I mean,
I think I still have all those piles of trash. Yeah, my current show right now, it's filled like all around the outside are just giant piles of trash. And
that's
I
cool.
loved building that. I was just like, this is hilarious. You know, if I would come upon just giant piles of trash on the outside, but the inside is beautiful with a pool on the top.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like super urban living, where you're
Wow.
like,
Yeah,
you
it
got the
just like,
roll door to get in, and then it's
I mean,
beautiful on the
voxels
inside.
is just like a dream for me. It was like what I was trying. One of my first websites I built in God, it was like 2004 or something. I built this website called Wrongland, and I was literally trying to do what I'm doing now with my voxels. So I would hide presents in there. If you rolled over, there was something called on mouse over. It was code. You know, if you run your
Yeah.
mouse over, you
It
remember
would,
that
yeah.
on
Yeah.
mouse over. So if you find the plastic sandwich, I would send it to the person. Like, I'm still always doing this thing, like it's a virtual space, but then you get sent something in the mail because you found something. Like, I've always been really
That's
obsessed with that
the
idea.
same with the free art, like the free art Friday movements and stuff. I don't know if you knew or familiar with that, but Atlanta was a big thing. And,
Oh, really?
you
What's that?
What
you
is
create
that?
you create a piece of artwork, and it's an amazing thing. You create something. It could be like maybe just a little bottle cap that you create put a magnet on or something, or maybe it's a wood cut that you paint and you put magnets on it, and then you hide it somewhere. It kind of started out of Instagram, and you would post it with just enough like background, like maybe a fence or a wall or something that
Oh
somebody could say,
yeah,
I know where that is. And then people, like a
would
friend of
go and
mine,
get it.
yeah, I got a buddy, he goes by Sad Stove, and he would make these stoves that had sad faces and stuff. And people would run to go get them. And then the etiquette is you claim it so that people know that it was at least gotten. But it's
Oh, I love
amazing
that.
when people see little pieces of art that are almost like nothing, and they see it and they're like, man, I could do that. You know what it does is a lot of people, a pretty good percentage of people, like, I could do that, I want to do that, and
Right.
Yeah.
it'll motivate them to try and do it too. And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
inclusive, and it's
Yes, I
free.
love that. That's a
So
fantastic idea.
Well, all of these
yeah,
things are encouraging. I mean, they
Yeah,
they encourage
because
creativity, and then the amazing thing is there's always this there's like always this underground economy. I think it's so funny. Like you said a few minutes ago, like people were like selling the postcard. Like this, like people will find a way. Like you'll do something for free, and then all of
no,
a
they're
sudden you'll
trading. Wait, they're trading the stickers because
yeah
I
yeah,
send
they're just trying to
different
balance out what they got, right?
and well, I send different ones to different people. I'm
right
not sending the same stickers, so they're all getting different ones.
right.
Yeah, so somebody's like, I got a Snoop, and
Trading.
I'll
Yeah.
trade you
They're
for
like,
that.
yeah, I'll trade you for that.
I love it. It's totally organic, and it's like the government has no control over it, and they want to, but it just like
Yeah,
starts, and that's kind of how like Bitcoin, like that's how the games, like the in-game currency, like the Fortnite skins. Fortnite, I don't think they planned for it, like and like Minecraft too. They're like it's just like this human activity that I think is
Yes.
it's
And
very
it goes
healthy, and I think
way back.
yeah, and I
It's
think it's
pre-bank. That's
it's
what crypto is. I was like
yeah,
pre-bank. There you go.
driving it me nuts
Right.
because crypto is simultaneously in the future and in the past before banks.
Oh.
Because we're creating our own currency. Like I use my art as the currency. Like I get services. You know that my bot that I have on Twitter, I bought that service with my painting.
there you go.
We didn't trade money.
Right.
I never
Right.
converted it to money to get a service. The guy that runs it, he likes my art, and I said, "Hey, I'm willing to give you a painting if I can get your service." This is what this is where I want to see more um really discussions. This is the topic I just realized I'm going to be speaking in Barcelona, Spain for the
Awesome.
historic NFT Fest.
Yes, yeah.
On this topic because I'm very passionate about it. It's going. It gets rid of this market value based thing and gets back to someone else valuing my art for its art, just for the art.
Right.
Well, I got one for you.
That's crazy.
I got one for you. It's a little bit of a doozy. So remember when I said my dad was a writer? So my birth was paid for, get this, by the doctor wanted my dad to, he said, I'll deliver the baby if you translate this book. That's how I was born. Isn't that awesome?
That is
like
awesome.
he
If you
translated a book.
translate a book?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and this is in the this is back in the day, and this is a very capable doctor. It's not like he was but he respected my dad's work because my dad would translate from multiple languages like Russian and Portuguese.
What's your dad's name and what books did he write? Would we know him?
It's Guy Daniels Jr. and his novel is Progress USA, which is very timely, especially anybody that has grown up in a small town. I mean, I didn't, I grew up in New York City, which is kind of ironic that I can't enjoy my dad's book as much as someone that grew up in a smaller town. But all my friends that have grown up in small towns, they love my dad's book because it's about, coming of age in a small town and all the hypocrisies there and just the humor and the American progress and the hypocrisy.
So your dad is multilingual too? He speaks
different
languages? Yeah. What does he speak?
Yeah. Well, God rest him, he's gone, but his main it was, he would translate from Russian, he would translate from French, from Portuguese.
How did he know all these languages?
That's what he did. I mean, the guy was put it like this, like I didn't know him when he was younger because my mom was his third wife. So my dad had like a couple of lives before I met him type of thing, but he obviously was he's a literary guy. He's like, he's the Hemingway generation. You know how those guys wanted to all be like Hemingway. So he's
but not everyone is an intellectual. Like my brother speaks 9 languages, which is really weird, but languages is his deal. That's all. He just learns new languages.
Yeah.
But it's rare. It's a rare trait for someone to speak more than 5 or 6 or something. It's it's getting into the rare territory.
Yeah.
As far as you have to be.
Well, it didn't pass off. Well, it didn't pass off to me. I mean, I barely know any French.
I tried to emulate my brother. I speak French and very badly, and I speak Japanese better than French, but maybe at like a 5th grade level. But that's why I got my degree in Japanese. I've changed a lot because my last year of college I was taking photography, and then when I found photography, I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with this,
Yeah. Hey, you want to see if anybody else has any more questions? If they're awake out there?
Yeah. Questions, comments, anything goes.
And you wanted to get into the pre-crypto art, you said? Like the comparison between, or how crypto art started and kind of what was going on before this big NFT boom type of thing, or?
Well, I think most people kind of know that it was a bunch of basically experimentalists. The one thing I wanted to mention was that it was, for me personally, when it was Torched Hearts, a Bitcoin puzzle that was created by Coin Artist,
yes,
and Ree Myers. Ree did the programming side of it. So when they released that, I found it. It was in 2016, I guess, when I found it, but it was released in 2015, and that to me was one of those moments where I thought, oh no, this could be really interesting, where you're hiding all of these, a code or something that has to be cracked. And then the people that win it is crypto art, because you win the Bitcoins. So there was 5 Bitcoins.
Yes,
in there.
It was a lot of money even back then. Yeah.
And it wasn't into the until 2017 that people began getting more interested in it, because now those 5 Bitcoins were now worth a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So Coin Artist was very influential in my thinking, although she's sort of, she runs that game company, Neon, uh, it's Blockade Games and Neon District. And
Right.
so she's not, I think she's not as gung-ho about the whole crypto art thing, because the way it's been polluted in a way, like,
Okay.
because I don't see her tweeting that much about um like NFT technology and stuff like that. Like, I don't think she's more in the gaming
In the
world.
gaming, right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I
Yeah.
mean, it's super competitive. I guess she's trying to stay on top of the heap. I mean, that's like, and that's a whole other conversation. Like, what is
Yeah.
this push? What's this push to have us all play games? It's just a weird thing. It's like everywhere I look, it's like, you look at these NFT,
Oh, yeah.
projects, and everyone is talking about becoming the decentralized Disney. And I'm like, number one, Disney's not that great. There's a lot of things about them that I kind of
I
think.
know.
I
I
don't want
I
a
don't
decentralized
understand it
Disney.
either.
They actually are pretty weird and perverted. Anybody that wants to look into the history of Disney, you're going to find, some stuff that you don't like. I mean, they openly admitted putting like, phallic images and like little kids, like art that was intended for kids. So it's like, yeah, Disney, no, I don't really like them.
Well,
Have I
plus the
watched
whole,
some
it's
Disney
too
stuff? Yeah,
generic.
but I just think that there's another way. And especially when they're so big, I wouldn't be looking to imitate them. Like, do your own thing. I think People Pleaser has like a film project that she's doing that sounds pretty interesting, and I don't think
What's that? I'm curious. What is that?
she's doing. Oh
Uh,
wow, I don't know the
uh,
name of it, but if you look up People Pleaser, she's engaged in
yeah.
this, in like a NFT film project. It's kind of like it looks like it's kind of taking a stab at a Web3 you know film company where you have investment uh, in the product, and I think you have a say in actually in like how the stories turn out. It just seems kind of experimental and fresh and just interesting. And it's
Mhm.
not like I'm not going to name names, but there's a very 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 popular project, um, NFT project that I saw. They basically did their version of the sorcerer, like Mickey Mouse is like the sorcerer, and I'm like, okay, we don't need that. Like, they already did it, and they did the art better than you. So like, you're not really bringing anything new to the table. I just think there's time for new stories. I mean, a lot of people like cyber brokers. I got to admit, when I read the first few chapters of cyber brokers, I was definitely like drawn in. I'm just not the type of guy. I don't have that time.
I like cyber brokers, but I'm not the type. I'm creating my own universe type
Me
thing.
too.
Like,
I'm trying to do the same.
I
Right.
can't read about someone else's dream like that
It's
much.
true. It's true.
I
And
can't get involved in that.
when you look at the level of engagement, it's very engaging, and I think it's fun
Hmm.
for the people that have the time. But I would say, just from a writing perspective, I was happy to see like good writing, like, finally, instead of like, yeah, let's do ape theft auto, and it's like, like, we don't need that.
Oh God, yeah. There is, yeah, it's the low level like gaming from like the ape world is bad. Like, it has a, it just seems, you know what it is? It's it's catering to the lowest denominator in the human spectrum. That's what bugs me about it. It's not it's not like enlightening people. It's actually dumbing people down, in my opinion. It has
That's a
that dumbed
whole
down.
other conversation, because I think
It's
that
like cereal boxes. It's like they're just plastering it all over on products. Like,
I mean, I think that
that's
whole thing
really
is
the best they
intentional.
could come up with?
Right. I think that whole thing is intentional, because if you dumb down people, then you have less resistance from them. And I mean, that's a whole thing to I mean, I think that's the
But
media.
don't you think that's a part of it, that it's that whole Hollywood, and I mean,
I do.
Siri and A16Z are like, they got their hands and all over that thing.
Sure, sure.
And so they're just kind of looking at it, how do we squeeze as much profit from this thing as possible? Like, I think that's what they're doing. Like they don't.
Well, I got to tell you, like the actual, like the other side is, it is something else. Like it's high tech. Like they can get 5,000 people seamlessly
Yeah.
into an area, and the graphics are great, and they have, I think
Can
when
you
I said
build
like,
your own thing in there though, or is
yeah,
it
yeah.
just?
When I said Ape Theft Auto, like I wasn't really saying BAYC. I was just saying like that's the type of thing I see is like these really really corny games and stuff. But
Yes.
I would say that BAYC is exceptional and that they're partnering with some really really top tier companies to do some stuff that's just kind of next gen. Like so they're really, they're kind of serious about it. Like they're, I mean, um I look forward to see what they're doing. And you can do a lot of stuff. You're going to be able to just do a whole lot of stuff with the land. And I'm curious to see what's going on. It was just that I see a lot of projects that are like, yeah, we want to do this, and then I look at the storyline and I'm like, that is garbage. Like
It's
my
because
my
they have garbage writers. They don't have writers
right,
involved.
right. There's a
Yeah.
project called Jenkins the Valet, which is actually a Bored Ape who has the guy has a history in writing, and and they hired a writer. And I haven't really looked at the project per se, but it's supposed to be like a lot of good, good storyline. Basically,
Yeah.
Jenkins the Valet is basically kind of this high level. He's like an eavesdropper, and he has all this, you know, knowledge about like what goes on in the swamp and the apes and what they really do. And and it's kind of interesting. And I mean, anything written well can create. My thing is, look, at least write it well at first, and then we'll look at the plot. But like, don't hit me with the, and now, we're gonna invade the planet Zargon, and it's like, come on, like I didn't watch He-Man when I was younger. Why would I, you know, uh, uh, get into this thing? I mean, I was watching Star Wars, the other. I mean, they were kind of putting like a binge, and I was just kind of looking at it, and like I was like, hey, that's a pretty good, that's a good story. I mean, they started at the fourth episode, so already you're walking into the middle of the thing, so it creates curiosity about what happened before, and they have this whole thing going on, and they have a whole lot of like allusions to different religions, and it's interesting. You can love it, hate it. I'm kind of a Star Wars generation. I'm not an obsessive one. I only like A New Hope. Like I only like the first
Yeah.
movie. It's really funny. Like I kind of, now that I'm older and I'm like looking at things from different, I can kind of
Yeah.
see beyond
Yeah.
my little preferences. I go, hey, that's kind of cool how they did that, but I still love that initial movie. But I have to say that the writing is great. Like they really created their own thing, and you can kind of, I mean, that's
Yeah.
the only thing I know
It's
that's
just it's just like when
multi-generational.
it gets too many derivative
Right.
stuff. And also the you know what, this is what bugs me I guess the most about Bored Apes is that there's no philosophical foundation. It's just a bunch of bored apes at a yacht club. And so the whole foundation of it for me has
Right.
absolutely no meaning. And so it's based in nihilism, in my opinion, because that's the opposite. Like nihilism is
Understood.
really what has been dominating humans for a while with the way that things are headed. And so it's a very bleak outlook in my opinion about what could be possibly done for humans. So for that reason it has this really nihilistic derivative horribleness that I can't even put my finger on. And the fact that they would pump billions of dollars and all of this hoopla and all of this like pomp and circumstance built around these nihilistic prince like lack of nothing. It's I find that very dystopic. So
Right.
that's my take.
Yeah.
That's my take on the whole fucking thing right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Well, I think we're in just the fact that it's like we have no control whatsoever over Disney. And I think that's what I would say to NFT people is that you can make your own stories. Like you were saying, you want to create your own universe. Like we can actually do that. No one knows how popular it's going to be, but like,
Yeah.
we have the best chance right now
Yeah.
because you can just engage your audience and kind of hate using that word because it's like a
I
corporate.
really don't like it either. I
I
don't
didn't.
like that engage your audience. It's
Yeah, I
like
mean, I
you
didn't
can
really mean that. I meant
inspire.
like you can
No,
basically
wait.
get
Let's
people to
rephrase.
participate in your thing.
No,
And
let's rephrase a little bit.
sure,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I have to rephrase
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
that drives me nuts, what
I
you
don't like
just
it
were
either.
talking
It
about.
kind of popped into my head. I guess
It's
I'm partial.
because it's the speak of now.
Right.
But really, it's inspiring people.
Okay.
It's giving them a spark, like
Right.
giving people permission to be themselves
There
and
you
to
go.
reach a potential that they can sort of feel, but they don't have a strong feeling about it yet. If you think back to that day that you went out on the street,
Yes.
wasn't there a scary moment
Yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
uncertainty? And I felt the same way, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I have to find out.
Yeah.
I have to find out
Oh
what
yeah.
it's like on the other side. I bring the other side. No,
Oh, look. All of this is like a promotion for Yuga Labs, right? But spoiler alert. Both
paid for Yuga Labs.
Yes, both me and Stella are like blatant sellouts. You know, like
we're
the Yuga.
Secret shills of BAYC. I only pretend to hate it to draw everyone in.
Right.
And then I just spring that. Oh, because we want to see what it's
on
like
the other side. Hey, I'll see you at 8Fest next year. Notice. Stella, that would be the biggest. That would be the biggest rug in NFT history. Forget Moonbirds, man. Forget Azuki.
And basically, like, I'm by being a reverse shill, I'm actually saying, go nihilism, be a nihilist, like, don't care about anything because I mean, that's the basics. If you have a bunch of followers, people who don't believe in anything, that don't have any sort of philosophical anything, they're hollow, vacant, they will fucking follow you, right?
Right.
They will follow you over a cliff.
Well, wasn't that the premise of the Seinfeld show? They were like, isn't Seinfeld like the show about nothing? And I was like,
yeah. Yes, it is. I think so. I actually never watched it that much. That's my secret about.
I didn't watch it that much, but I remember
about nothing.
I remember being like, wait a second, it's not about nothing. You're getting paid hella money for this, and like, how about that? Like, it's
you know what?
Your careers. It's never about
Voxel.
Nothing. It's never about
Voxel living. I don't know your name. Like,
Guy.
Yes. Okay, Guy. Most of life is about nothing. Like, most of people's days are about nothing. This is a thing that people feel uncomfortable thinking about.
Wow.
It's mostly filled with nothing. Like, our highs and lows are these just little moments of our existence, filled with vast sums and plateaus. Like, literally, like there's nothing that happens most of the day, and then you get one thing that happens. I want to change the ratio of the nothing to imaginative things happen, like things that you cannot imagine that would come real, that would become. That's my drive. That's always been my drive, because I was dissatisfied with the reality of a few shallow minds that created this fucking society. Right. We're in a reality that was constructed by a few shallow minds. This is the truth. Right. This should freak everyone out.
Right.
Because that is the reality.
Right.
And I think that needs to be disrupted. So when I start thinking of these ways, then it's now I'm on a different other side. No.
Hey, didn't I? I could have sworn I saw you in a picture with Guy Osiris years back. You know how they used to say we all found out that the Bin Laden family was like cool with the Bushes.
No, I despise celebrities, and you know why? Is because I don't know if people know this. I think I talk about myself a lot, but whatever. I was in the fashion industry. I was a teen model for Elite in Tokyo,
Oh, okay.
Japan. Okay, Tokyo at age 18. I graduated early from high school. I don't even know how the fuck I did that. But anyway, I got straight A's and shit. But I was in Japan at age 18, living in Tokyo, Roppongi. I saw everything with my own fucking eyes.
Okay.
I saw all of it. And it's not a world that you want to look up to.
Right.
It's not. It's not. I would never let my child become a model in the modeling industry from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so I think because of me being in that world, and I call it the fake world,
Okay.
I know what agents are like. I had a talent, I had a modeling agent. I couldn't do certain things. They were pissed off when I cut my hair, and they would go off the handle. I had to follow orders. It was like they had to tell me, you have to go to this restaurant at 6 p.m., wear this and this and this. Like they would tell me what to wear and shit. And so when we learned about the whole, I call the NFT celebrity complex,
Right.
these celebrities don't know what the hell's going on. Most of them, like Snoop Dogg does and Paris Hilton does, they were in Ethereum like from the beginning.
Okay.
So I'll give them that. But for the most part, like Madonna and all of these NBA players and shit, look, they're not technically minded, in my opinion. They don't take time out. They're busy fucking being famous. So they got instructions from their talent agency. I'm just guessing.
Sure.
That told them, hey, you go out in Twitter and say you got this Bored Ape from MoonPay. Because a lot of the celebrities are also invested in MoonPay.
Right.
And so just understanding that this was manipulated in that way, that those celebrities depend on their talent agents to keep them, afloat. They keep them making money, and so they have to do what they say.
Oh,
Like
so we
there's
gotta
no choice.
you know what I'm saying? I'm seeing like a newer, updated version of Jerry Maguire where Cuba Gooden demands NFT projects. So instead of the Quan, it's the Quinn.
I didn't get that, but maybe
Oh,
someone else can help out with
okay,
that.
okay. No, it's Jerry Maguire is a talent agent, and
Oh, I
so
knew that name, but
yeah, it's a pretty well known movie where Cuba Gooden plays his one athlete, and at the time it was like clothing deal, like sneaker, apparel. I mean, whatever the quad, he called it the quad. It's like the four things that like every star athlete gets. So I was like, if
Show
we
me the money.
but that right, but that movie was done like maybe 2 decades ago. So like the revamp, like the Jerry Maguire reloaded, you would have Cuba Gooden like demanding an NFT project. It was just a joke. It was like
okay.
like it's going to be the de facto thing. Like the sneaker deal, the 10K
Yeah.
PFP, right? Like
Well,
garbage project.
it's like, here, promote this nihilistic project, and it's to me, it's like, it was so weird and interesting to see the like inner workings of Hollywood and
Yeah.
how actually mainstream media works. I mean, for
Right.
example, you can't get into Forbes unless you pay. Like there's a
Ah.
lot of stuff like that where you think that you see someone in Forbes,
Right.
well, they got connected somehow and then they also had to pay for that. And so, I don't know, it was just sort of bizarre when
It
that
is
all happened.
strange.
It
Sure,
is
it's not
strange. Like
sincere. It's basically not sincere. You're made to believe.
you're
It's
made to
made.
believe it's sincere. That's exactly right. Because, I mean, I refuse to think that Madonna would like the philosophical the nihilism that is present in Bored Ape Yacht Club. Like, how can she support that? It
Right.
seems like completely against everything that she stands for. So that was a very clear moment in my mind that no, she's not an independent thinker the way I thought she was. She's not. She follows the orders of her talent manager, and for that I have no respect.
Right.
I
Right.
can't respect that person anymore. They have shown who they are, and it's like if they honestly just liked the Bored Ape Yacht Club, that would be different. But it's that she was following the orders.
Right.
I find it really isn't it disgusting, really?
Well,
If you
that's where
think
the
about it.
relief. That's where the relief of. I mean, I know you don't like the
What?
term Web3, but I'll just use it because that's
No, it's
like.
okay. I mean,
Uh,
whatever. Everyone
but
uses it.
that's like the relief, that it looks like you can, I mean, you have your wearables collective, you have these different things. You did the Ukrainian event. I mean, like
So,
you can do these things without the okay of someone else. Like,
yeah.
other like
You're not going to get any publicity though, really. Because I reached out to so many NFT magazines.
yeah.
Guess what?
What?
Zero response. None
Really?
of them even mentioned it about the
Really?
Ukrainian Spring show. I was
Sure.
really pissed off about that actually. Because that indicated that wait a minute.
Right.
Okay, so I got to kiss someone's ass to get into their fucking NFT now. I was just like, do it because these Ukrainian artists are being bombed, you fuckheads.
Right.
That's where I get
Right.
a little mad because it's like you just showed me
Who you were?
your values. You
Right.
have none.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, it is disheartening when because everyone, they talk the talk, and like, hey, when it comes down to
No, they don't even talk the talk. They're about status and money.
wow.
Status and money, except for the Crypto Art Museum. So here's the silver lining that
Great.
I've been
Yeah, go on.
finding. I need to talk about the silver lining that
Okay.
I'm really interested in. So amongst all the stuff happening like that, getting disappointed that like these NFT magazines and stuff are shallow, then comes the French MoCA Museum of Crypto Art.
Yes.
It was the first one. They have done so much for me. It is unbelievable. I'm in a French newspaper because of them. Like the curators chose my art